So, in the last class we were seeing about directors. Now, in this class we shall be starting about related party transactions. Let us understand about related party transactions and contract in which directors are interested parties. So, in the first one, let us understand what is related party, which people shall be called as related party. Every director of a company has to work in the best interest of the company because his relationship with the company is of fiduciary nature. A director is not supposed to take undue advantage of his position. He cannot derive secret profits from the company's business. Therefore, certain responsibilities have been cast on him. Hence, it is necessary for the director to make disclosure of interest in the meeting of board of directors. Related party transactions are business dealings or arrangements between two parties who are concerned by a special relationship prior to the deal. In the business world, it is well known that the related party transactions can be used, and hence it is important policy to be taken care of. India is also not free from this problem. In the old act, the scope of related party transaction was limited. So, let us understand what is related party. Firstly, the interest of the director. Every director who is there in the company has a huge interest with the company. He has a fiduciary relation. That is a relation which cannot be seen, but the directors know. And the directors are not supposed to take undue advantage of this position. So, he cannot derive secret profits from the company. He has to disclose all his interests in the company in the meetings of the board of directors. And related party transactions are business dealings or arrangement between two parties who are concerned by a special relationship prior to the deal. So, let us understand about related party transactions more in detail. The Satyam Mehta's deal is one of such issues which became responsible to recast related party transaction in the company law of India. Related party transactions have become very common and they are inevitable in today's business world. It is expected that whenever there is conflict of interest between director's interest and company's interest, the director is supposed to put his interest secondary and give first priority to the company's interest. Directors can derive funds of a company for personal benefit of the directors. This can be done through transactions with related parties. The Companies Act 2013 has made sufficient provisions to control such related party transactions and to see to it that such transactions are not used as an instrument to divert the funds of a company for the personal benefits of the directors. So, there are many examples in which directors have taken undue advantage of their interest in the company and have been seen in the business world. So, the related party have become very common and they are very inevitable. Means what? They cannot be ignored, and it is expected that whenever there is a conflict of interest between directors and company's interest, the director is supposed to put his interest secondary and first company's interest. So, directors have the right to divert funds of the company for personal benefit to the directors. This can only be done through related party transactions. Now, related party. Now, which people can be called as related party? Let us understand about that. Related party, section 276 definition. Related party with reference to a company means a director or his relative, then a key managerial personnel or his relative, a firm in which a director or manager has or his relative is a partner, a private company in which a director or a manager is a member or a director, a public company in which a director or manager is a director, holds along with his relative more than 2% of the paid up share capital. Any body corporate whose board of directors, managing director or manager is accustomed to act in accordance with the advice, directors or instructions of a director or manager. So basically we can understand that any person who is working in the company and with his relative has certain kind of interest in the company, he shall be termed as related party. So first is director, the director or his any relative. Then key managerial personnel. We have understood about key managerial personnel, secretary, the chief executive officers, the directors, the managers, they all are the key managerial personnel, that is the important people of the company. So they are relatives. Then a firm in which a director, manager or his relative is a partner, a private company in which a director or manager is a member or director, a public company in which a director or manager is a director or holds along with his relative more than 2% of its paid up share capital. Then any body corporate whose board of directors, managing directors or manager is accustomed to act in accordance with the advice, directions or instructions of a director or manager. Any person on whose advice, directions or instructions a director or manager is accustomed to act, provided that nothing in the subclauses section 4 and 6 and 7 shall apply to the advice, directions or instructions given in a professional capacity. So, any person on whose advice, the direction or instructions a manager or director or manager is accustomed to act, provided that nothing is mentioned in the subclauses. Then next, a company which is a holding, a subsidiary or an associate company of such company or a subsidiary of a holding company to which it is also a subsidiary company, such are the person as may be prescribed. So these are the people who shall be termed as related parties to the director or to the people associated by the company. Then next we have provisions relating to related party transactions, section 188. Except with the consent of the board of directors given by a resolution at a meeting of the board and subject to such conditions as may be prescribed, no company shall enter into any contract or arrangement with a related party with respect to first one, sale or purchase or supply of any goods or materials, selling or otherwise disposing of or buying any kind of property, leasing of property of any kind, availing or rendering of any services, appointment of any agent for the for purchase or sale of goods, materials, services or property, such related parties appointment to any office or place of profit in the company, its subsidiary company or associate company, and underwriting the subscription of any securities or derivatives thereof of the company. So the related party transactions shall be not with the consent of board of directors given by by a resolution at the meeting and such conditions as may be prescribed, that no company shall enter into any contract such as sale or purchase of any goods or material, then selling or otherwise disposing of or buying any kind of property of the company, then leasing of any kind of property of the company, availing or rendering of any services, appointment of any agent or purchase or sale of goods, material, services or property or such related parties, appointment to any office or place of profit in the company's subsidiary company or associate company, then underwriting the subscription of the securities or derivatives or anything thereof, provided that no contract or arrangement in the case of a company having a paid up share capital of not less than such amount or transaction not exceeding such sum as may be prescribed shall be entered into except with the prior approval of the company by a special resolution, provided further that no member of the company shall vote on such resolution to approve any contract or arrangement which may be entered into by the company if such member is a related party, provided also that nothing contained in the second provision shall apply to a company in which 90% or more members in a number are relatives of promoters or are related parties, provided also that nothing in the subsection shall apply to any transactions entered into by the company in its ordinary course of business other than transactions which are not on an arm's length basis. So this has certain restrictions also, that no contract or arrangement shall be made in which the company's paid up capital or share capital amounts transactions should exceed, or as may be prescribed or entered into except with the prior approval of the company by a special resolution. So a special resolution needs to be passed in order to get such transactions approved. Then, provided no member shall of the company shall vote on such special resolution to approve any contract or arrangement which may be entered into by the company if such member is a related party. Then next, explanation in this subsection. Expression, office or place of profit means any office or place where such office or place is held by a director. If the director holding it receives from the company anything by way of remuneration over and above the remuneration to which he is entitled, is a director by way of salary, fee, commission, perquisites, any rent-free accommodation or otherwise. So the explanation is, the expression office or place of profit means any office or place where such office or place is held by a director. So any person holds and he holding it receives from the company anything by way of remuneration or remuneration over and above the remuneration to which he is entitled by way of salary, fee, commission or perquisites or any rent-free accommodation or anything else. So this is about the directors related party. Then next we have, where such office or place is held by an individual other than a director or by any firm, private company or other body corporate, if the individual firm, private company or body corporate holding it receives from the company anything by way of remuneration, salary, fee, commission, perquisites, any rent-free accommodation or otherwise. So, in case in a private company or other body corporate, if the individual firm or a private company or the body corporate holding receives from the company anything by way of remuneration or salary, fee, commission or perquisite, it has to be mentioned to the company. Then next, the expression arm's length transaction means a transaction between two related parties that is conducted as if they were unrelated, so that there is no conflict of interest. So now what does arm's length transaction mean? A transaction which is carried on between two related parties, but they are shown as unrelated, so that there is no conflict or interest or property in the same. Then, where any contract or arrangement is entered by a director or by any other employee without obtaining the consent of the board or approval by a board special resolution in the general meeting under subsection 1, and if it is not ratified by the board, or as the case may be, the shareholders at a meeting within 3 months from the date on which such transaction or arrangement was entered into, such contract or arrangement shall be voidable at the option of the board, or as the case may be of shareholders of any shareholders of and by any other directors. The directors concerned shall indemnify the company against any loss incurred by it without prejudice to anything contained in subsection 3. It shall be open to the company to proceed against a director or any other employee who had entered into such contract or arrangement in contravention of the provisions of this section, or for recovery of any loss sustained by it as a result of such contract or arrangement. So, where any contract or arrangement is entered into by a director or any other employee without obtaining the consent of the board or approval by a special resolution in the general meeting under subsection 1, or if it is not ratified by the board, then the shareholders shall convene a meeting within 3 months of such happening, and they shall see to it that the matter is ratified, and they shall see to it that it shall be voidable if any kind of thing is found. Then next, Without any prejudice to anything contained in subsection 3, it shall be open to the company to proceed against a director or other employee who had entered into such contracts or arrangement in contravention to the provisions of this section for recovery of any loss sustained by it as a result of such contract or arrangement. Then, any director or other employee of the company who who had entered into or authorized the contract or arrangement in violation of the provisions of this section shall, in case of listed company, be punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 1 year, or with a fine which shall not be less than rupees 25,000 but which may extend to 5 lakhs, or with both. So, in case any director or officer is found guilty or has violated the provisions of contract or provisions of the sections which are mentioned by the Companies Act, then if the company is listed, he shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which shall extend to 1 year, or with a fine which shall be not less than 25,000 and but which may extend to rupees 5 lakhs, or with both. Depends upon the company and depends upon the area of violation. Then next, in case of any other company, be punishable with a fine which shall not be less than rupees 25,000 but which may extend to rupees 5 lakhs. So, as to have control on related party transactions, specific responsibilities have been cast on audit committee, independent directors, and in addition to their general responsibilities. In other words, directors will have to be very careful in complying with the requirements related to the related party transaction. So, it shall be the responsibility of the audit committee and independent directors and auditors to see to it that there is very proper and transparent way of dealing with everyone in the company. And the directors will also be very careful while complying with the requirements of the related party transactions. So with this we come to the end of related party transactions. Now let us start with appointment of directors, qualifications and disqualifications. So in that, first let us understand who can be appointed as a director. Then we will understand what are the qualifications for a person to be called as a director and what is the disqualifications. So, who may be appointed as a director? Only individuals to be appointed as director. Every company shall have board of directors consisting of individuals as directors. No body, corporate, association or firm shall be appointed as director of a company, and only an individual shall be appointed. However, no company shall appoint or reappoint any individual or director of the company unless he has been allotted a director identification number under section 154. So remember children, for any person to be appointed as a director, he shall have his own director identification number, which is very compulsory. Whether it is appointment or reappointment, his director identification number shall be very important. This is given by the Companies Act. Then, however, in New Zealand case of Commercial Management Limited versus Registrar of Companies in 1987 in ZLR 744, it has been pointed out that the partners of a firm cannot be collectively appointed as directors. It would be quite foreign to the concept of the office of directors, which calls for individuals the judgment and responsibility. The Supreme Court has given reason as to why only an individual be appointed as a director. In a case, Oriental Metal Pressing Works Private Limited versus B.K. Thakur, 1961, 31 Com. Case 143, it was held that the office of the director being to some extent an office of trust, there should be somebody readily available who can be held responsible for the failure to carry out the trust, and it might be difficult to fix the responsibility if the director was a corporation or an association of persons. However, deemed directors may be considered as as the exception to above mentioned provisions, where all or the majority of the directors of a subsidiary company are accustomed to act according to its directors. So, this for a person to be called as individual directors, they have given cases where a person was being called as a director, but he did not accept the same. So, now let us understand about appointment of directors. Now, first director. In case of an one-person company, an individual being member gets the status of first director until the director or directors are duly appointed by the member or in accordance with the provisions of this section. In case of other companies where there is no specific provisions in the articles about the appointment of the directors, the subscribers to the memorandum who are individuals shall be deemed to be the first directors of the company. So, in case of one person company, the individual who gets the status of first directors, and then in case of other companies, there is no specific provisions in the articles about the appointment of the directors. The subscribers to the memorandums who are individual can be appointed or can be deemed to be the first directors of the company. Then first directors are usually appointed by the name in the articles of association of a company or in accordance with the manner specified therein. These names are to be provided to the registrar at the time of the registration of a company. If these first directors are not appointed in the manner mentioned herein, the subscribers to the memorandum who are individuals shall be deemed to be the directors of the company until the directors are duly appointed in the first annual general meeting. If a subscriber to the memorandum happens to be a body corporate, it will be excluded from the list of the first directors if incidentally all the subscribers are body corporate. In such a case, articles of the company must contain a list of the first directors for the purpose of registration of a company. So, first directors are usually appointed by the name in the articles of association, and that the register at the time of registration of company, these first directors are not appointed in the manner mentioned mentioned by the law, because the finding first directors is difficult for the company. Then next we shall understand about appointment of directors at a general meeting. Section 152 of the Act states that the directors are required to be appointed by the shareholders in the general meeting of the company. However, it is to be noted that no individual shall be appointed as a director of a company by articles of a company unless he gives his consent to hold the office as a director, and such consent has been filed with the registrar within 30 days of his appointment in the prescribed manner. However, in case of appointment of an individual director in the general meeting, explanatory statement stating that in the opinion of the board he fulfills all the conditions of the act for such an appointment should be annexed to the notice for such general meeting. Section 152(5). Second, conditions to be fulfilled before appointment. DIN, no person shall be appointed as a director of a company unless he has been allotted the director identification number DIN under section 154. Declaration: every person proposed to be appointed as a director by the company in the general meeting or otherwise shall furnish his director identification number and a declaration that he is not disqualified to become a director under this act. Consent: in case of OPC as well as private company, every director of the company is under an obligation to give his consent for appointment as such, and the consent shall be communicated to the ROC. Then recommendation. The recommendation regarding nomination and remuneration committee is required to be considered while appointing a director. So, what are the conditions which are required to be fulfilled before appointment. Firstly, the directors shall have their own director identification number. Then secondly, declaration that every person who is proposed to be appointed as a director shall furnish his director identification number, and he shall prove that he is not disqualified to become a director under this act. Then consent. In case of OPC as well as private company, every director of the company is under an obligation to give his consent for appointment as such, and the consent shall be communicated to the RSC. Then recommendation. The recommendation regarding nomination and remuneration committee is required to be considered while appointing a person as a director. Then next we have appointment of other directors. The remaining directors, subject to certain regulations in the articles of the company, be appointed by the company in the general meeting. 1/3 of the directors retire every year. At the first annual general meeting of a public company held next after the date of the general meeting at which the first directors are appointed, 1/3 of the directors such of the directors are the time being are liable to retire by rotation, or if their number is neither three nor a multiple of 3, then the number nearest to 1/3 shall retire from the office. That means out of retiring directors, 1/3 of directors must retire every year. For example, in board consisting of 12 directors, 4 directors can be non-retiring out of the remaining 8 directors. 2 directors will have to retire every year. If the board has 10 directors, then 3 directors will be of non-retiring category, and out of the remaining 7 retiring directors, 2 directors must retire every year at AGM. Company can fill the vacancy by appointing the retiring director or some other person. The retiring directors reappointment can be done at the general meeting only. So 1/3 of the directors retire every year. So 1/3 means, for example, if the board is consisting of 12 directors, so 1/3 means 4 directors can be non-retiring out of the remaining 8 directors. 2 will have to retire every year. If the board has 10, then 3 directors will be non-retiring category out of the 7 retiring directors. Then 2 directors must retire every year, and at the the annual general meeting, the vacancy shall be again filled by the company. Then next we have retiring directors. The directors who are supposed to retire should have been of longest tenure in office since their last appointment. Violation of above provisions will attract punishment of imprisonment. So retiring directors are supposed to retire and should leave the office, and till their next appointment they shall not be present in the company. So with this we shall stop here. In the next class we shall be starting with reappointment of retiring directors.